Hello students, so I welcome you all with another video in the rapid series wherein we cover all the current affairs for 2022 prelims. The current affairs are covered in a very quick and concise manner, no clutter, no additional and irrelevant information involved. Only the required information is delivered to you through these videos. So let's begin today's session. So the first topic is Green Voyage 2050 project. This project is basically a partnership project between Norway and International Maritime Organization. So the purpose of this project is basically to transform the shipping industry towards low carbon future. So this shipping industry, a large amount of trade is transported overall globally using the waterways, using the shipping industry. But a lot of carbon dioxide and other carbon footprint is associated with this industry. So bring it down, this initiative is there, Green Voyage 2050 project. So it was launched in May 2019. So why are we reading it now? Because recently what happened, India has been selected as the first country under this project to conduct such a pilot project which is related to green shipping. So this is the news, this happened recently, and the project itself was launched in May 2019. So these are the important information that you need to keep in mind. And the purpose is to make the shipping industry more green and reduce the carbon footprint. It is supporting the developing countries like India to meet their commitments towards relevant climate change. Okay, so this was about the Green Voyage 2050 project. Moving on, the next topic is UNESCO declared first 5 country biosphere reserves in Amazon of Europe. Okay, now what this means basically, let's decode it. Declared first 5 country biosphere reserve. So we all know, we must be knowing about biosphere reserves. So this is the first time a biosphere reserve is declared by UNESCO that spans over an area of 5 different countries together. So that country, those countries are in Europe, and those countries are so rich in their biosphere that they are called Amazon of Europe. Amazon, as you all know, is otherwise in South America, but it is rich in its biodiversity and its greenery and the forest. But these 5 countries in Europe is so biosphere, so diverse in biosphere that these are also called Amazon of Europe. So these 5 countries are Austria, Slovenia, Croatia, Hungary, and Serbia. So these 5 countries together were given the tag of Biosphere Reserve, and this is the first time UNESCO is declaring a set of 5 countries, an area spanning these 5 countries, as the Biosphere Reserve. Okay, so this is basically an area which covers 700 kilometers, and it includes these rivers which you need to take into consideration: the Mura, the Drava, and Danube rivers. These are the important rivers and which flow across these countries, and the entire area is spread across the span of 700 kilometers. uh, अब जब हम ये डिस्कस कर रहे हैं बायोस्फीयर रिजर्व, तो लेट्स ब्रीफली गो थ्रू कि ये होता क्या है बायोस्फीयर रिजर्व. सो बेसिकली इट इज़ एनी टेरेस्ट्रियल और कोस्टल इकोसिस्टम. सो ये हम डिजिग्नेट करने का पर्पस यही रहता है दैट टू कम अप विद सॉल्यूशंस टू रिकनसाइल द कंजर्वेशन ऑफ बायोडाइवर्सिटी विद सस्टेनेबल यूज़. सो हम बायोडाइवर्सिटी को यूज़ भी करें लेकिन सस्टेनेबल मैनर में. सो which are those areas that needs to be used sustainably, that is being declared by UNESCO. And in UNESCO, under the Intergovernmental Man and Biosphere Reserves, is a specific program which is and under this program, these biosphere reserves are declared by the Director General of UNESCO. In India, there are 12 UNESCO designated sites. So this was about this news. Moving on, the next topic is methanol economy. The news is basically India's first indigenous high ash coal gasification based methanol production plant. Methanol production plant that uses indigenous high ash coal gasification. So based on this technology, the production of methane. So such a plant has been for the first time developed in Hyderabad. Okay, so this is the news, and that makes this methanol economy as a topic important. So what is methanol? It's a low carbon hydrogen carrier fuel, and it is produced from high ash coal or agriculture residue, or CO2 from CO2 from the thermal power plants, and natural gas. So there are multiple sources through which methanol can be produced. So it is basically the process of polygeneration. So the process is like, there are different sources, not just one process or one source. There are different sources through which the methanol can be produced, and that is why this process is called polygeneration. Like, generation through multiple ways can be developed from any resource that can be converted into syngas. So basically what it requires is CO and H2, which when combined is called syngas. So any process that finally ends up with the production of this syngas can lead to the production of methanol. So therefore it can be produced either from high ash coal, agriculture residue, CO2 from thermal power plants, or natural gas, because all these will produce the syngas, and the syngas will produce methanol. So the plant in Hyderabad, which was developed recently, is basically a high ash coal gasification based plant. Okay, so this is one of the methods. uh, what is the benefits of methanol? Now, since we are reading it, a few static information or basic information about methanol becomes imperative. So it can be processed to make dimethyl ether, and this particular chemical is a liquid fuel that closely resembles diesel, and it helps to replace diesel. And then it is a clear liquid chemical that is water soluble, and also very easily it can be biodegraded. So these are some of the benefits. It can also be used to produce other chemical derivatives, और फिर इस chemical derivative को use करके हम बाकी और दूसरे products produce कर सकते हैं, जैसे plastics हो गया, paint, resins. So that's why it helps to directly and indirectly produce many other products of utility. Few more points about methanol. It produces no particulate matter, no soot, and almost negligible sulfur and nitrogen oxides. So that means it is a way more environment friendly fuel. And that's why there is so much of a stress to shift towards methanol economy. So one idea you can get from this, that अगर हम 15% methanol mix करेंगे पेट्रोल में, तो it will reduce the pollution by 33%. So by this you can get the idea how environment friendly and how ecologically important this fuel is. अगर हम डीजल का रिप्लेसमेंट करेंगे मेथनॉल से, the pollution will reduce by more than 80%. Then methanol economy research program. So since we are studying methanol economy, some steps that has been taken. So this research program is basically by Department of Science and Technology to do research more in finding out ways to smoothly transition towards methanol economy. Then Bureau of Indian Standards has also notified that DME blending should be done with LPG. So at least so that 20% of DME blending, and DME we know that it is dimethyl ether, which resembles diesel. So this blending can also be done with LPG. So this notification has also been released by Bureau of Indian Standards. So these are some of the steps, important steps towards methanol economy. These are some of the benefits of methanol in terms of its utility and in terms of its environment or ecological friendliness. So this was about methanol economy. The next topic is about renewable energy certificate. So this is not a new concept. The concept of REC was introduced way back in 2010. Okay, so introduced in 2010 for interstate transaction. So now what has been done is Ministry of Power has redesigned this REC to boost green economy. So some changes has been done to make it more effective. So what is REC? It is a market-based instrument where the owner of the REC can legally claim to have purchased renewable energy. So the owners, for example, the purchasers include the discoms. For example, they purchase some one REC. That means they can claim that they have purchased one REC, or they have purchased 1 megawatt hours of renewable energy. So that is kind of a proof or a slip that they have made this purchase. So this receipt is required because they have to show this to that they have met their RPO targets. So renewable purchase obligations target. Every discom, for example, has certain target that a part of or a certain percentage of their power procurement should be from renewable sources, and that is called RPO target. So if they have this REC, which is you can consider a kind of receipt that I have purchased this much amount of renewable energy. So they can show this receipt to the government and the regulating authorities, saying that they have made this much amount of purchase from renewable energy sources. So that was the whole idea for the introduction of REC, and it is traded in the power exchanges between the forbearance and floor price. Forbearance and floor price means the higher and the lower limits, the higher and the lower prices are set, okay, for these RECs, and these prices are determined by CERC, that is Central Electricity Regulatory Commission. So this body determines the upper and lower price limit for this REC, and these RECs are also traded in power exchange. So in case one company, one discom has purchased two REC, but only one is required by norm, so it can sell its one REC to some other discom. So it is much like the carbon credit mechanism. So like this we can also trade the RECs. So National Load Dispatch Center, this is important because this is the organization that registers these facilities, renewable energy generation facilities, and it also issues the renewable energy certificates. So this particular authority is responsible for it. Then who can purchase, who are eligible to purchase? Distribution companies, open access consumers, captive power plants. So all these entities are eligible to make the purchase for REC. And now what are the changes? So some of the changes, some important changes that has been made recently, which has made REC into news, is that the validity of REC will now be perpetual. Earlier it was for 3 years, that you have bought some REC and you want to trade it, then only you can trade it for 3 years, but now it has been made perpetual. Floor and forbearance price that we discussed is now not required to be specified. Okay, earlier it was specified by CERC, but now no more required. CERC have to monitor and to have surveillance mechanism to ensure that no hoarding of RECs is done. So this price limit is removed so that there is more ease of purchasing or selling it, but at the same time, to ensure that regulation is in place, the CERC is empowered to have monitoring and surveillance mechanisms, to design its own other mechanism, alternative mechanism, to ensure that regulations are adhered to. Then RECs can be issued to obligated entities, which also include discoms, as we took in the example. So includes discom and even open access consumers, so which purchase the renewable energy power even beyond their RPO compliance. So suppose the discom needs to comply with by purchasing 2 RECs, but it can also go beyond this and purchase 4 RECs. So there is no restriction on that, and it can further trade the extra 2 RECs over the exchange. So this was about the renewable energy certificate. Moving on, the next topic is about plastic pact. So plastic, as we all know, is a very dynamic topic for UPSC, because now and then there is some or the other news related to plastic waste, so it becomes very important. What happened recently is India became the first Asian country to develop a plastic pact. Okay, the first Asian country to develop plastic pact for building a circular system for plastics. So this pact was launched as a collaboration between WWF India and CII, Confederation of Indian Industries. So it was a pact between these two countries, a collaboration between these two entities. So this is Worldwide Fund for Fund India, and this is Confederation of Indian Industries. So it's a collaboration between these two entities. So what it requires the stakeholders throughout this value chain of plastic, like from the manufacturing of plastic to those who purchase the plastics and plastic bottles, to those who actually involved in the packaging and then delivery of the consumer goods packed in those plastics, and then finally the waste generation and waste collection of that plastic. So all these entities involved in the value chain of plastic, so they need to set time bound targets and target for their commitments to reduce their plastic waste and to improve the recycling of the plastic waste. So this is the news, and since we are dealing with plastic waste, some important thing that happened recently related to plastic is Plastic Waste Management Amendment Rules 2021. So these rules were earlier also there, but in 2021 new rules were brought. So कुछ जो important changes इस 2021 rules में introduce हुए थे, They were prohibiting the identified single-use plastic by 2022. So already this current year has been set as the target for certain identified single-use plastics. So that is one thing. Second is the thickness of plastic carry bags. So that increased from 50 to 75 microns from September 2021 and up to 120 microns from December 2022. So from September 2021 onwards, earlier it was 50 microns, now it has been increased to 75 microns. This is the thickness of the plastic carry bags. So that should be minimum 75 now. And from December 2022 onwards, this thickness should be further increased to 120 micron. So the plastic bag should be of minimum 120 microns from December 2022 onwards. So this is it for today, and we have discussed five topics which is important for prelims. So we will meet in our next session, in our next video, with another set of five more important topics. Till then, keep studying well, and if you like the video, please like it, and you can also share it with your friends. Keep studying, and all the best.